We're going to read for you The Nails from Tragedy to Triumph, which we'd normally be doing in church on Good Friday. But sadly we can't be there this year. And our friends from the ecumenical churches join us for this occasion. And then afterwards we all go off and have hot cross buns and tea. And we can't do that either, but we'll have a hot cross bun and think about you all. So this is Tragedy to Triumph, The Nails. At every Passover festival, the Roman governor was in the habit of setting free any one prisoner the crowd asked for. At that time, there was a well-known prisoner named Barabbas. So when the crowd gathered, Pilate asked,
"Which one do you want me to set free for you? Barabbas or Jesus called Messiah?"
He knew very well that the Jewish authorities had handed him over to him because they were jealous. While Pilate was sitting in the judgment hall, his wife sent him a message.
"Have nothing to do with that innocent man. In a dream last night I suffered much on account of him."
The chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask Pilate to set Barabbas free and have Jesus put to death. But Pilate asked the crowd,
"Which one of these do you want me to set free for you?"
"Barabbas," they answered.
"What then shall I do with Jesus called Messiah?"
"Crucify him," they answered. But Pilate asked,
"What crime has he committed?"
Then they started shouting at the top of their voices, "Crucify him!" When Pilate saw that it was no use to go on, but that a riot might break out, he took some water, washed his hands in front of the crowd and said,
"I am not responsible for the death of this man. This is your doing."
The whole crowd shouted, "Let the responsibility for his death fall on us and our children." Then Pilate set Barabbas free for them. After he had Jesus whipped, he handed him over to be crucified. Then Pilate's soldiers took Jesus into the governor's palace, and the whole company gathered around him.
They stripped off his clothes and put a purple robe on him. Then they made a crown out of thorny branches and placed it on his head, and put a stick in his right hand. Then they knelt before him and mocked him.
"Long live the King of the Jews!"
They spat on him and took the stick and hit him over the head. When they had finished mocking him, they took the robe off and put his own clothes back on him. Then they led him out to crucify him.
As they were going out, they met a man from Cyrene named Simon, and the soldiers forced him to carry Jesus' cross. They came to a place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. There they offered Jesus wine mixed with a bitter substance, but after tasting it, he wouldn't drink it. They crucified him, and then divided his clothes amongst themselves by throwing dice.
After that, they sat there and watched him. Above his head they put the written notice of the accusation against him. "This is the King of the Jews." Then they crucified 2 bandits with Jesus, one on his right and the other on his left. People passing by shook their heads and hurled insults at Jesus.
"You were going to tear down the temple and build it up again in 3 days. Save yourself if you're God's son. Come on down from the cross."
In the same way, the chief priests and teachers of the law and the elders jeered at him.
"He saved others, but he can't save himself. Isn't he the King of Israel? If he comes down off that cross now, we will believe in him. He trusts in God and claims to be God's son. Well then, let us see if God wants to save him now."
Even the bandits who had been crucified with him insulted him in the same way. At noon, the whole country was covered with darkness. It lasted for 3 hours, and at about 3 o'clock, with a loud shout,
"Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. My God, why did you abandon me?"
Some of the people standing there heard him and said, "He's calling for Elijah." One of them ran up at once, took a sponge, soaked it in cheap wine, put it on the end of a stick and tried to make him drink it. But the others said, "Wait, let us see if Elijah is going to save him." Jesus again gave a loud cry and breathed his last. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Sometimes it causes me to tremble. Tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they nailed him to a tree? Were you there when they nailed him to a tree? Sometimes it causes me to tremble. Tremble, tremble. Were you there when they nailed him?